Let me just see what the human body will give us.
My next guest is one of my favorite chefs here in Los Angeles.
73 years old, long-term vegan.
Perhaps I'm looking the way we're supposed to look.
I mean,
I live this every second of the day.
co-owner of a very popular vegan restaurant.
Stuff I eat in Los Angeles, California.
Chef Babette.
You don't look anywhere close to 74.
Nobody changed their lifestyle like I did. Brother and a sister, they're both gone. Mama's gone. Everybody's gone.
No animal products, no doctors, climbing in and out of the bathtub at 73. I mean, it's pretty fucking rocking, you know?
It's just food. The only thing I'm eliminating is animals.
And with that said, let's welcome Chef Babette to the show.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I came across you in probably an interview somewhere, and just your whole presence, like the way you was dressed, the illumination. I'm like, this person's riding this really high vibe.
Oh, you're just so sweet, really.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to meet you. So on that note, my first question is, I do actually believe that some people, they kind of see you as a superhero because you're 73 now. You're doing 73 press-ups on your birthday. You've created this wave of inspiration around what's possible as people age, and really promoting the vegan diet, and also environmental ideas are also being shared by you. So what is every superhero has an origin story. So what would you say is your origin story around veganism, how you became Chef Babette?
Thank you for this. It's so beautiful to have the opportunity to share a journey. And I always appreciate that opportunity. I met my current husband, Rondell Davis, in 1990. And I was eating everything that was not nailed down, trust. I had a horrible time digesting food. I knew absolutely nothing about food combinations. And, I'm like everybody else. It's incredible to me how we're the only species on the planet that has to medicate after we eat. It's like nuts. But on the very first day, he took me to do a run up to Griffith Park. I don't know if you're familiar with Griffith Park here in LA, but just massive inclines. I could barely walk this thing. He runs the whole thing backwards. After that, he feeds me. He takes me to his apartment, and he's going to fix my very first vegan meal. Now, he's not vegan at the moment, but he had a lot of knowledge of the lifestyle. And when he made this meal, it was perfectly, put together. I felt amazing after I ate it. He gave me basmati brown rice. I had never heard of basmati brown rice. I didn't know what the hell that was. But afterwards, I felt so amazing. He shared 2 books with me, Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond, and The Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. I was completely and totally in the dark I thought a vegan was a Hare Krishna. Hey, that's how ignorant I was. That's where I was. And I began to read Fit for Life. And I had been suffering. The volumes 1 taught you how to combine food properly. I had no clue that there were categories of fruit. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to eat melons with everything else. I didn't know that a subacid fruit is okay to eat with a sweet fruit, but you should never eat a sweet fruit with an acid fruit. I had no clue. But this book is telling me all this, and it's also addressing some of the digestive challenges I'd been faced with. And I started practicing what was in the book. It was incredible. No, seriously, it was unbelievable. And as time went on, man, no no stinky under the arms. You could go to the bathroom and poop and you're not stinking up the house. It was just unbelievable. And then when I got into the mucusless diet healing system and started learning about inflammation, pretty much, disease, I was like, I'm on. I completely and totally changed my lifestyle overnight. Okay. It was so amazing. And so now I was about to turn 40 then, and I'll be 74 in December. You know what I mean? And life has just been such an amazing journey from then to now. It truly has. Yeah. It's a blessing to be able to go through that and be able to share, you know?
It's incredible. And, you know, and everyone says it to you, but you don't look anywhere close to 74.
Well, you know what, sweetheart? I look at people now and I see what they're talking about. I see what we go through as humans in our 70s.
But it could be the case that you look 74 and they don't.
And you know, hey, I wish I could give you a fist bump right now. No, seriously, because I've often said, perhaps I'm looking the way we're supposed to look.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I started this thing just before I turned 40 and have been on it seriously ever since. Began to work out then, the whole 9 yards. So I kind of think you're onto something. I think if we did better with embracing and with embracing self-love and self-care, if we had more knowledge of what we need to do, I think we'd all be a lot better.
Yeah, because I suspect some people can use your story as a way to say she's special, and
Right.
and you are, but it's like, own it for yourself as well. I mean, that's what I kind of think. But one other thing I want to ask you is, yes, you've got this wonderful origin story, but there's something within you that made you take to this opportunity that came to you. So many people could have been given those books and said, that's not for me. You know, I know a little bit about your story, and I know that you were involved in quite hard drug situations and
Yes.
difficulties around addiction. Yet when this opportunity came to you, you went, give me all of this.
I embraced it. You know, I guess because I had never felt the way I felt after eating a meal. I was always very, very miserable after eating. I suffered with eczema, asthma. You know, I was a hot mess the whole way around. And plus, you know, come on, I'm meeting a new guy and he giving me books. He's like, listen here, lady, this is what I need. But, you know, thank God I embraced it, because years ago I embraced ingesting crack cocaine and going through that debilitating period in my human journey. And that was quite debilitating. Whenever you would pick paint off the wall thinking it's crack and holding it between your fingers, waiting to get to a pipe so you can try to smoke it. I smoked a lot of paint. You know what I mean? It's like, well, somebody's trying to give me some good information. Maybe I should take a moment and check it out. You know, I grew from that experience.
Yeah, I often feel like sometimes people that have been around the addiction story, they have the addiction is a really strong attempt to feel better, to change something. So it kind of primes you with this motivation when you come across something else that you can do to feel the way you know you should be feeling.
Yes. Thank God for the journey, though. Thank God for the experience, because look where I am now. Wow.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So I grew up in quite a rundown area in urban London. And I grew up in a place as well where vegan was just what? And anything that you couldn't eat in a packet was just weird, just like really, really odd. And it was just so removed from my environment. And then one year, a restaurant opened called East West Cafe, and we all laughed at it because it was like a vegan kind of restaurant with like bowls of, you buy from scoops of stuff. We never heard of that before. And we just did not embrace it because it was coming from the outside. It was gentrification. But what you did, and I think this is mind-blowing, is you opened an organic vegan restaurant as one of the community. And I was thinking, if one of the, we call them greasy spoons, if one of the greasy spoon cafes in London that was owned by us suddenly started selling vegan food, we would have gone to it, right?
Yes.
So you did a genius move. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind that?
You know, thanks for asking that question. I lived in South Central at the time. My husband and I met him in 1990. We got married in 92. And I had a home in South Central, and I was working for the airlines at the time. And so whenever I had a few days off, we'd jump on a plane and go to Jamaica. That was my favorite spot, Negril, Jamaica. And so we were planning one of those trips and walking down Market Street in Inglewood. And I never really ever had a reason to go to Inglewood before, but we were on that street that day and the doors to the restaurant were open. We went inside and I saw a built-in salad bar, the same color as my business card. And I'm thinking, that's an omen. Man, maybe we need to open a restaurant, because at that time we were playing around with all kind of food. We had gotten married. We had a completely vegan menu at the wedding and the whole 9 yards. And at that point we were just enjoying veganism at that point. And we met the owner of the store, and he said, no, it used to be a restaurant. I don't want it to be a restaurant anymore. I think I'm going to open up a Nike kids store. He had a Nike store in the building adjacent to. And we left our business card anyway. And when we got back home from Jamaica, he had called us about 5-6 times. Come back over here and talk to me. And that guy wound up giving us that building, first and last month rent. We had no money and a security deposit. And so now we have this building, and we had a couple of people that were nice enough to chip in, a few people, about 3 of them. And we started fixing it up. It took us, believe it or not, 4 years to get that place ready to be able to open that place. And when we opened, my husband he had paid for all the appliances were paid for, the whole 9 yards. We opened, and the rest is history. And people were kind of like, you really gonna put a vegan restaurant in Inglewood? Really? And we were like, we live in South Central, but whenever we want to go out to eat, we have to travel across town to do that. So why not have something right here in the neighborhood? But the funny thing is, when we finally opened the doors, it was a predominantly Black, brown community. It's going through a gentrification right now. But people would come in and look at the menu, and not the first thing they were looking for some chicken. If they were like, what is this? What are you selling? I would literally follow them outside and tell them, come back in, let me treat you to a taco. We sold these delicious wild rice tacos. And every single time I shared a taco with them, they'd wind up buying a meal and became some of the best customers ever. I gave away a lot of tacos, as broke as we were, but I made it happen. You know what I mean?
If you didn't do that, I suspect it might not have worked, because it's hard for some people to understand this, but it was scary. When you walked into a vegan, you was like, what is all, you want to just leave. You just want to leave, right?
I agree with you, sweetheart. I swear to God, I don't think, Rich Roll was interviewing me, and he's like, you're giving away all that food. But I'm going to tell you, I believed exactly like yourself. If I hadn't done that, I don't know if people would have ever come back in that store. They needed to know it's just food. They put that label on stuff, vegan. That's why sometimes I can't stand it. It's food. It's just food. The only thing I'm eliminating is animals. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes wish there was a word we would call other food and then let vegan just be food.
Yes.
But that's not how it works.
I know. So
it's the normalization. I recall when I first met a vegan, I was probably in my 20s. I thought they was from a place because it was this very ethnic looking woman. And she said she ended up being my girlfriend. And she said, she's vegan. I said, where's that? And she just laughed. Right? So people don't understand when you grow up in these communities, you have no idea.
True. You have no clue.
When the restaurant started to take off, did people start to like take on the diet, or they were just more now enjoying your food? Did it start to spread a little bit?
You know, when it first started, obviously it was more. I like that. They have enchilada pie. I like that. Oh, and I had to start selling soul food platters. That was something I had to do. Yeah, a plant-based soul food platter. And once they saw soul food, they would be like, okay, so what's the meat part? And we had barbecue tofu and, but some of them changed early on, but most of them just kept coming back because they liked the flavors and they felt a certain way after they ate, And then eventually we started getting customers, and especially once Mercy for Animals came in, videotaped it, it went viral. And then we just started getting a truckload of people coming in. And that's when we really, I think I have to give it to Mercy for Animals. They kind of put us on the map, so to speak.
This is the thing. There used to be these debates about what's the best way to promote veganism, and should we talk about animal exploitation, or should we just talk about the health benefits? And I feel that, these things all have their place. But I often feel in some communities, just having the food be good, just eating the food.
That was all that mattered. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, when I transitioned, it was not about not one animal. I wasn't thinking about an animal. I really wasn't. I was only thinking about the way I felt after I ingested the food and how it digested. I wasn't thinking about, but there's absolutely no separation now. I've grown consciously. And so obviously I believe in a oneness. I believe in the whole. And I believe that the decisions I make, each and every one of us, whatever the decision is, there are consequences.
Totally agree with you. I started this because I was diabetic and I was looking for a solution. And after a while, just the whole idea of ahimsa and doing no harm just became the main reason. And I now say to people, I don't even care if you could prove to me that veganism was the worst diet I could possibly eat. I still wouldn't eat any animals because I don't have the right to.
And I don't like the way, I don't like our practices as it pertains to the slaughtering, the treatment of other species. We're just a species. We share this planet. And so once I began to make the connection, there's absolutely no way, I'm with you, I'd ever go back, ever.
And this is why I really love what you did with Stuff I Eat, because in the community that I grew up in, and it was pretty rough, there was no room to think about anybody else other than our own survival.
Got it.
You're in these communities and you're trying to just get through the day, and someone comes up with what about the animals? You're like, what about me? Is that I don't want to say that we're selfish, it's just that it's quite struggling. So you giving people this food and them enjoying it, they can kick back a little bit and be like, what is going on here? It can open the mind a little bit. That's what I feel. Not to say that communities are like that, but I do think there is an extra pressure when you're in a survival mode to just get through the day versus when you get out of that, you can start exploring other opportunities. There are exceptions like ourselves, but I'm just feeling that that's what I felt. And that's why I think
agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So I think your food approach to veganism in your community is like it's just genius. And one of the things I heard you say, and I got to say, this is the most powerful converter of non-vegan to vegan I've ever heard.
Was it that plus?
The blister. Can you take us through? Because I've never heard anything like that. That was like, wow, that's just so powerful.
And you know what? I'm no scientist or anything like that, but I do remember burning myself and that thing blistering up, and I'm thinking, when I take that chicken out of the oven, there's some stuff oozing out of that chicken that looks like the stuff in this blister. I would never even consider pricking this blister and sucking it, but we suck all over that stuff that's coming out of that chicken, and that,
I'm just picturing.
I knew that's what you were about to say.
Yeah, I'm just picturing someone in your restaurant who's not vegan and they're enjoying a taco, and you tell them that, and it's like it is the most mind-blowing.
I'm telling you, the reaction was always like, ugh. Yuck.
I've not eaten
never
meat.
Thought about that.
I've not eaten chicken for 10 years, and I still went ugh for all the ones I ate before. It was a decade ago.
I know.
You came up with some strong medicine.
Because I wanted people. You know what? We're so ignorant. We're so ignorant, and we're so selfish, and we feel like it's all about the human. It's not about like. Look at what happens to what is it, bluefin tuna? How they're just overfished, and how we just or just say take fishing for instance. You're out there to catch one type of fish, but you're gathering up all kind of fish in your net. You dump them over as waste. They're another species. If we don't have fish in the ocean, we cease to exist. It's our decisions, as I say, and the consequences after we make those decisions. We've got to raise our level of consciousness, and we've got to understand the connection.
You said a statement that I really loved, and you said, I'm going to read it back to you. It says, "We need to embrace every sentient being in our only planet home."
Isn't that? But shouldn't we? They're all here for a reason. Because people will pull out their Bibles on you in a hot second now. But if you believe that which created the whole, if it created all of it, then it did not make mistakes. It did not make mistakes. And the practices that we use nowadays, we overdo everything. Look at what we're doing with the ocean and the plastic. Come on. Humans, it's us.
We are the ones doing it, and it's easy just to not think about it. But
yes.
We will be forced to think about it more and more. So why not start now and take action now? That's the way I look at it.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. It's so beautiful. And that is why any opportunity I have to share, I share. You know what I mean? I just share my journey. I share what I've learned. I'm so appreciative. I'm so grateful to the gift of life.
I want to talk to you a little bit about motivation. So in my story, there is some similarities to yours, but there's one big difference, and I don't feel like I took it all the way. So I was 320 pounds. I grew up in a really rough environment. I was involved in all kinds of things, and I took that into a place where I'm a practicing meditation teacher. I'm vegan, and I reversed my diabetes. And the unfortunate thing, in some ways, is that I reversed my diabetes at about 240 pounds. But then my motivation has gone, that's it. Like I don't know currently how to get motivated for the bit that you've done, which is go all the way. And it's like when you come on a long journey, there's so much that you can be like proud of. I can't figure out what takes it to where you're like you're still going to the gym an hour in the morning at 5 a.m. and then you're for running on the treadmill, then your trainer comes and works out like I'm kind of like, I'm good. I'm not 320. My blood sugar's stable. And I did try. I recently lost a lot of weight, like 40 pounds. And when I got to my goal weight, I realized if it's weight is your motivation, the closer you get to it, the less motivation you have. So I want to find out what motivates you at the deepest level. Like what's going on here?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, spiritually, I am so grateful for the gift of life in this human form. I also understand I can always say that I'm grateful, but the only way that I prove that I am grateful is to continue to take care of self. Nobody is going to get up and get in that gym for this 73-year-old but me. I'm the only person that can do this for me. It's me. And everything I do to care for this human form is saying thank you to the intelligence that brought me here in this form. And I will, that to me, I can talk a good game and talk about how I'm so grateful, but if I'm not caring for me, I don't feel like I'm telling the truth. This is it. And once this human form ceases to exist, this energy moves on, takes on new form, and that is truly what I believe. That is truly what I believe. But right now, I'm here. Just think, I'll be 74 in what's that, 4 months? 74 years old. In 26 years, I'll be what, 100?
That's incredible.
26 years ain't a long time, baby.
No, it's not, is it?
No.
That's an incredible motivation because it's so deep. It's tied to the moment. It's not tied to the goal. It's tied to the moment.
To the now. That's the other beautiful thing that I've understood and that I've learned. Is that I only have now. And I hate it when doctors tell people you have 6 months to live. No, I have the same amount of time to live as you, each and every moment. Period. Done.
This is really eye-opening because what I'm hearing is like, if my goal is to lose weight, that's not now, that's later. And if the goal is later, then I can say I'll start tomorrow. Where if your goal is to be grateful for this existence and this body in this moment and to prove it in each moment, then there isn't a tomorrow. You can't be like, I'm gonna prove I'm grateful for my body tomorrow. That
There's
doesn't
now. It doesn't make sense, right?
Either you're doing it now or you're not doing it. So you can very quickly catch yourself going off path.
There you go.
Where with the weight loss, you can go off path for weeks telling yourself you'll do it or years. But this one is like, I'm not being grateful. Come back to that. I love that. I'm gonna play around with that.
It's a motivator. It motivates you, you know?
Yeah. Because I realize one morning, and I sometimes have quite grand ideas, and I realized that from my perspective, the body is the interface between our life and the divine, right?
Yes. See?
Yeah. I normally call it formless and form.
There you go.
The interface.
I love that.
We can worship it. We can worship it. So I've done very well, but I know that my success point, and this was a hard pill to swallow, my success point is someone else's starting point.
There you go. Yes.
Someone else is walking around at 240 pounds going, I'm kind of a little bit diabetic, but not really. I'm kind of vegan. I'm doing well, but I'm eating a little bit. I'm not exercising. They're like, I need to change this. And I'm walking around going, look at me.
I did it. I know.
It's a hard one, but that's what I'm working on. That's amazing. What advice do you have or tips do you have for the people? Because there's a group of people like you who they read the information and they do it. And there's another group of people who read the information and they go, hell no. But there's this middle group that they get the knowledge, but they can't implement. There's too much in the way, either emotion or internal resistance, or they just can't get into a flow. Do you have any advice, maybe for you, that you can share as well, of how do you get through the hard parts?
You know, it's really an excellent question, and I hope I can share something that helps someone along the way. It's easy for me to say, well, we're all at a different place at a different time. Yeah, we are. We are. However, I really believe some of us will be okay with a transition, and others of us will never be okay with that type of a transition, period. It is where we are consciously, and if we are ready to do something different. Hey, you were ready at the time that when you went where you went, you were ready. But there are just some of us that are not ready. And they may never be ready in this human form on this particular journey. But I'm always hoping and praying that people are raising their level of consciousness as they go, so that when you do cease to exist in this form, and whatever form that energy takes on, it's at a higher level of consciousness. I don't know. And that's just me talking. I don't know how else it works, because there was a time that I had a woman trying to sell me herbs. I was like, lady, please leave me alone. I do not want any herbs. Now you can't keep me from herbs. I'm all over it now. But there was a time when I was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't know. I'm not interested in that. I wasn't ready. I was such a low frequency I was operating on, and then when I met Ron, and I was ready, and so we just have to be there. And the only thing that I can say to people is, try to learn as much about you as possible. Try to learn as much as possible about what makes it work. And if somebody's trying to give you information, don't blow it all. Just take it in. Just because guess what? You may get something amazing from it. But other than that, I don't really know what else to say about that, sweetheart. I really don't. That's the honest to God truth.
Well, I've got a question for you. When you wake up and you're about to do, say, a workout, and you don't feel like doing it, if you feel like doing it every time you do it, then let me know what that's like. But when you don't, what do you say to yourself?
First of all, it's a routine. It's a lifestyle. It's now just a routine. And I remember my mother, before she made her transition. My mother passed just a month or so before she was 93. But my mother could not, my bathtub is so, I get moved into a new spot, and my bathtub is so deep and so wonderful. My mother could never get in that bathtub, let alone get out of that bathtub. Whenever we went to the supermarket, the shopping cart was her walker. And I watched her, and I said to myself, I do not want that to be my reality. Now, I didn't know at the time how I was going to make it better. And then after I met my husband, that gave me some motivation. But right now, sweetheart, when I go down on the floor, I'm getting my ass up. And I don't need no help. I don't need a stick. I don't need anything else. I hurt my knee showing out in the gym last December, 2 days before my 73rd birthday. I hurt my knee really badly, but I was showing off in the gym. I was stepping out of my lane. I learned a valuable lesson in that because it took some months for this. I didn't go to the doctor, but the knee feels awesome right now. But the bottom line is, it's constant, Babette, constantly looking out for you, constantly love of self. I am number one in my world. I'm number one over my great-granddaughter. I don't care, my daughter. I don't care. I am the most important person in my human journey, period. And I got to take care of me because nobody else is going to take care of me like I'm supposed to take care of me. And that, when I talk to you about that, is saying to the intelligence, I do appreciate this gift of life. Because, well, hey, baby, how can I be an inspiration to anybody and can't walk? I mean, come on. And I'm not talking about somebody that can't walk because they hurt themselves. I'm talking about somebody that can't walk because they sat all day at work, then they drove home sitting down, then they got home, ate the wrong kind of food, and now they're sitting in front of a TV for the rest of the evening. Right. And now they can't walk.
So part of your motivation then is to maximize your potential.
Yes, exactly.
So you inspire others.
Exactly.
When it comes to food and veganism, people can do an overnight transition. But when it comes to the fitness and exercise, that's just not possible. What is your approach to getting someone on the pathway to fitness?
If you can barely walk, do not get out there for the first time and pretend you're going to be a jogger. I see sisters doing that all the time. I've pulled over in my car and I've been like, why are you jogging? Why don't you just walk? How about a brisk?
God,
I have
that
done
must
it.
Be such a good experience.
I have done it. And do you know what most of the time what they say? I know. I used to run. When I hooked up with my husband, that was my thing. I ran. And I know somebody that does not need to be out there hitting cement. It's not giving. You don't even know what you're doing. And so it's like, how about just a brisk walk? Breathe. Get some sunshine. Move your arms. You don't have to get out. I was showing out, busted my knee. I was out of my lane.
There's another quote that you said, I heard somewhere, and it was very simple. It just said, start with one.
There you go, baby. When I started those push-ups, I started with one. And every day I would add to it if I could. Then if I couldn't, I would just go back to the number I did the day before. For my so it was the 72nd birthday, I think it was. I did 100 push-ups in my restaurant. I was only supposed to do 72, but I wound up doing 100 because I could. I did sets of 10. I started off with I think I did 25 first and then maybe 15 and then just started doing sets of 10 and got up to 100.
I know you hurt your knee showing out, but do you think showing out a little bit is part of this motivation?
In my restaurant, I was showing out doing 100 push-ups, but I did them intellectually. What I did with my knee, I did a 45-minute spin, and then my ego told me to go get on the treadmill. That was my ego. I was feeding an ego. That's something totally different. And I got on the treadmill after not being on the treadmill for at least 2 years and turned it up to 7. And then worked out with my trainer and my right knee just went crazy on me. That's something totally different. You know what I mean?
Do you think if people can afford it, do you think they should get a trainer?
I always have a trainer. It's best for me. They always put me in the right positions. I believe in good trainers.
So
yes.
Part of me doesn't get a trainer because I have this idea that I should do it myself. And I think
I get a trainer.
Okay. Good.
I do better with a trainer. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about spirituality and oneness.
Great subject.
What is your understanding of oneness?
You know, I some years ago, I never did real well with just the Christianity thing. I never, even when I was very, very young, it was something about it just it didn't connect with me, because I would always wind up with questions like, well, what about all the people on the planet that never ever saw a Bible? Where did their souls go? That never knew a Jesus or it? And they would always say to me, I want you to talk to my minister. They would, the grown-ups, they would never answer me. They would, and so I walked into a metaphysical church, and the way this man was speaking, it just all made sense to me. It just made sense to me. And then I began to understand that I am a mere expression of that intelligence that created all of this. I am just an expression of it. And that's when things started getting really good for me. I started understanding my total connection with the whole, and yeah.
I do believe, like, the Buddhists many years ago, they came up with the idea of ahimsa for that reason, that we're all connected, and therefore we all, like what you said about sentient beings being allowed to be as they are. But it also seems to be that this kind of approach to spirituality, it incorporates veganism, it incorporates health, it incorporates the motivation, it incorporates the sense of joy in each moment that you're obviously emanating completely. Like, your presence is so joyful. So obviously that church definitely did some work on you. They definitely said,
I mean, and it spoke to me so quickly. It made sense to me so quickly. I settled into it. So, and all those years before, I grew up in the church, but it just never connected. It never connected.
Amazing. In Bhagavad Gita, they talk about the candle, the fire lights another fire.
Oh,
so when someone is like recognizing this oneness, they have the capacity to illuminate another person to also recognize.
Oh, that is so beautiful. What about just us being a part of everything? The sand, the water, the air. There is no disconnection.
Absolutely. It's impossible to find anything that doesn't rely on something else.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist. Even if you get an avocado, someone sold it, someone packed it, someone grew it, and then the seed it grew from, where did that go from? And it just goes on infinitely. So that oneness is very palpable.
Very powerful.
It's just this realization really does fit with alongside veganism. It's such an integral part of it.
I agree.
So one of the things I noticed that you did is that you're doing is you're becoming more involved in the community from the perspective of, for instance, you did a panel where you brought in melanated doctors into your area.
Oh my God!
You did an event. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing there?
Well, sometimes I am still the head chef in my restaurant, and sometimes when I'm back there prepping, I'll open up the front window and I can look out and see what's going on the street. And there have been times that I've looked out and they are just some of the most grossly, now I'm saying grossly obese because that's truly what it is, not to be mean to anybody or anything like that. But I understand that we're not supposed to be there. We're not supposed to be looking like this. And a lot of the people come on the street to go get go to the restaurant that's selling oxtails and all kind of stuff. They can barely walk. They can barely get out of the car. And I'm like, we are really ignorant. I know that this is uncomfortable because I know when things are uncomfortable to me physically, and I still only weigh 125 pounds. And I just thought, I know some incredible melanated doctors. I'm getting ready to bring them together and see if I can get some folks in this community to come and listen. Can you just please come and listen? Because if I bring 4 of them together and you're all packed in one room and you get to ask as many questions and then I'm gonna feed you a beautiful vegan meal with a lot of lard. It was absolutely delicious, and these doctors were so on point. People absolutely loved it. They loved it, and we need more of it. We need to keep talking and helping our people, because as I help you, you will help someone else, and it begins to help the whole. Our planet is overheating. We are not just eating the wrong things for us personally, but we're eating the wrong things for our planet home, for this to be the place that we can stay. We're being irresponsible, and we are ignorant, and a lot of us are extremely stubborn. That's where we are. That is where we are. And so I just felt like this is what I'm going to do. It really turned out, it was awesome.
I think this is another genius move because certain demographics are more plant-based than others. And it's not because they're smarter or they're more adapted to it. It's because we're social creatures. And if you make it cool, people will do it. So you bringing this into your community is enough for people to make it a movement, because people just want to be part of something.
They want to be a part, right?
In my place, it was always greasy spoons. Yeah, that was it, right? So that's what
where
we did.
I grew up too, baby.
Fish and chips and greasy spoons. So that's what we did. And when a new fish shop opened, we would all go like, "This is really cool," right? Just you can do the same thing with plant-based, delicious. I bet your food's amazing as well.
It is. It's very simple and very delicious. It really is. Very simple. But look, in a Black and brown community, we sell tacos, burritos, quesadillas. We sell a soul food platter. I make my own hamburgers out of walnuts. So we have a nut burger. You understand? So I make my tuna out of carrot pulp. So it's untuna. And people just absolutely love it.
So one thing I'm going to mention, just because you mentioned it, was so I was used to make my own food, and I live in Thailand, so I can get stuff made for me, like in restaurants, and very cheaply, because I don't have enough time. And I'm listening to one of your interviews, and you said that you still make all of the food for your restaurant starting at 4 a.m. I was like, bro, you've got time.
I do. I do. Amazing. I get up and I do that. I wake up every day between 1:30 and 2. And that's when I start my day.
To wrap it up, you've already accomplished so much already. But what are your future aspirations? What's next?
Well, just basically to keep it moving, just to ride it out like I am. You know what I always like to test the human body. Like, what can a 74-year-old do? If I decide when I turn 74, if I decide, okay, I really want to go hard in the gym right now. I really want to do something totally different with this body, and I want to take a year to get it done. What can this 74-year-old body, if I start like right now, really going hard, what can this 70-year-old body do in 12 months? That's good information for everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Because we want to pretend that when we're 74, go sit down. That's what we want to tell ourselves. Well, I'm old. We like to label ourselves. And my thing is, let me just see what the human body will give us if we give back.
The way you think about these things is so good. I did have a question for you, which was going to be about what should someone do at 20? What should someone do at 50? What should someone do at 70? And you've answered it in one go without it being asked. Just ask yourself, what can an XX-year-old body do?
What can it do?
That answers all questions,
What
and it's
can
a
it do?
motivation of curiosity that doesn't run out.
I love that. That's beautiful.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is. But we can do it, can't we?
We can.
We can.
I feel very, I feel like I've learned a lot from this interview in just terms of like the way that you think about these things. It's so vast, but simple. Like it's big, but it's now. You know, it's a very interesting way to look at things. Look, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. I could carry on for 3 hours.
I know. It's like I've been knowing you forever.
It's just flown by. I've had such a good time, but thank you so much. How do people find you online? Where's your
Well, Instagram, it's one of my bigger ones. That is Chef Babette. And then, of course, TikTok. You know what's really funny? I have over 300,000 followers on TikTok, but I don't really get TikTok. Now, I get Instagram, but I don't really get TikTok. So sometimes people are okay with me on TikTok, but they follow me anyway. I guess because I'm almost 74. I don't know. But yeah, those, and Facebook is pretty quiet. It's just Babette Davis. They Meta took my Chef Babette Facebook page down. So I would just say TikTok, Chef Babette, and Instagram. Chef Babette.
Okay. Thank you so much for this interview. It has been amazing. It's my pleasure to talk to you.